Israel is a country that really stands out among its neighbors. How can such a tiny country, surrounded by tension and enemies, be so rich, modern, and powerful? Its cities look like Europe, its army uses AI drones, and its passports open almost any border in the world. Meanwhile, many of its neighbors, from Palestine to Lebanon, Syria, and even Iraq, struggle with poverty, corruption, or instability. So how did this happen? Why is Israel decades ahead of the region that surrounds it? Today we'll explore 5 big reasons why Israel managed to rise so fast and why others didn't follow the same path. My name is Philip. Welcome to Money Maps. When you turn on the news in the last couple decades, you pretty much always saw similar things. Sirens in Israel and airstrikes and political chaos in the region around it. And yet, Israel's economy continues to grow. Its tech exports are rising. It's one of the few countries in the world that has fought multiple wars and still managed to become a global innovation hub. That contrast between destruction and development is the starting point for this entire story. Because it didn't happen by luck or by chance. So let's start with the most important point. Israel's main resource isn't something like oil. It's people. While most of the Middle East was built on natural resources like oil, gas, and trade routes, Israel had none of that. So from day one, it had to build its wealth from something else: human capital, meaning education, innovation, and skill. When the country was founded in 1948, it faced massive challenges: immigration waves, food shortages, and military attacks. But the leaders at that time understood one thing clearly: if your neighbors are stronger in numbers, your survival depends on being smarter and more efficient. So Israel poured tons of money into schools and universities right from the beginning. Hebrew University and Weizmann Institute all focused heavily on science and engineering. But then came a system that accidentally produced a whole generation of entrepreneurs: mandatory military service. Every Israeli, men and women, serve for years in the army. And while that is controversial in many ways, it also means that every young person learns about teamwork, logistics, technology, and leadership very early in life. Many of Israel's top tech founders and investors started in elite army units like Unit 8200, which is like the Israeli equivalent of the US's NSA, where they learned about cybersecurity and data analysis long before Silicon Valley did. That's why Israel has more startups per capita than any other country in the world. It's not because people randomly had great ideas. It's because the system trained them to take responsibility and solve problems under pressure. So the first big reason for Israel's rise is that it turned survival into a national education project. And it built an economy on brains, not on natural resources. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Israel only got rich because the United States gives it money. And yes, US military and economic support has been huge. And to really understand that, you have to see why the West supports Israel so strongly. Because it's definitely not charity, it's strategy. Think about geography for a second. Between Europe and Asia lies a belt of countries that have often been politically fragile. Coups, wars, sanctions, or dictatorships make long-term partnerships risky. Israel, on the other hand, is a democracy aligned with Western values, with a highly educated population and advanced military tech. That makes it the perfect ally for intelligence sharing, counterterrorism, and defense research. The US benefits from Israeli innovation, especially in cybersecurity, drones, and surveillance systems. Many of the technologies used in American defense or Silicon Valley companies today originated in Israeli labs. Europe also gains from cooperation. Agricultural tech, medical research, water purification systems, all exported from Israel. And politically, having a strong ally in the Middle East gives Western powers a local foothold without having to maintain massive bases themselves. So in short, Israel offers innovation, intelligence, and influence, and the West offers security guarantees, trade access, and diplomatic cover. So it's a mutual exchange, not a one-way dependency. So far we've talked about people and alliances, but you can't build prosperity on chaos. You need a system that actually works, and this is where Israel stands out. But when we say strong institutions, what does that actually mean? Well, we're talking about the courts, the regulators, and the agencies that keep a country running no matter what's happening around it. For example, the Bank of Israel, which acts independently from politics, like the US Federal Reserve or the European Central Bank. It manages inflation, interest rates, and keeps the shekel stable even during war. Or the Israel Securities Authority and Tax Authority, which ensure transparency and enforce laws that give investors confidence. or the High Court of Justice, which can even block government decisions if they violate fundamental rights, creating a legal environment where businesses know that their contracts are protected. And the Innovation Authority, which co-founds startups and tech research with private companies. Even the bureaucracy, often super slow in other countries, was digitalized very early. Today, you can register a business or pay taxes in Israel way faster than in most European countries. And all of that means that when conflict happens, business doesn't freeze. The court system still operates, contracts remain valid, and banks stay open. Investors know that the rules won't suddenly change depending on politics. And that's incredibly rare in the region, but it's the foundation of trust. So the third big ingredient behind Israel's rise is institutional resilience, a system designed to function even in crisis, because crisis was always part of the plan. So let's dig a little deeper into what I briefly mentioned earlier. Israel didn't just build technology for fun. It had to. When your country is small and surrounded by potential enemies, you can't depend on imports for everything. So Israel built its own solutions, from agriculture to defense. Take agriculture. The country is mostly desert, but Israeli scientists developed drip irrigation, which revolutionized farming globally. They even figured out how to turn seawater into drinking water, making Israel nearly independent in water supply. Or take energy. Israel discovered offshore gas fields and used them strategically, not just to power homes, but to export energy to Jordan and Egypt. Those deals not only bring money, they also create interdependence, a subtle form of diplomacy. And then of course take defense. The constant threat of war created a massive incentive to innovate. Systems like Iron Dome didn't just protect civilians, they became global exports. So in short, Israel's survival challenges also turned into business opportunities, because every problem was treated as if it was a startup idea. So yes, necessity breeds innovation, but only when a country builds the systems to turn that fear into action. Now comes the big contrast. If Israel did all those things without oil, why didn't its neighbors do the same thing or follow the same path with oil, land, and population? And the answer to that isn't simple, but it comes down to three structural issues: governance, education, and stability. So let's start with governance. Many Middle Eastern countries were drawn with colonial borders and built under authoritarian rule. That meant less freedom for entrepreneurship, slow reforms, and high corruption. And when rules can change overnight, businesses simply don't grow. So next is education. Some countries have large populations and underfunded schools. In Israel, almost every child finishes secondary education, and many go on to study science or engineering. But in parts of the Arab world, literacy and access to universities lag very far behind, especially for women. And finally, we have stability. Wars, coups, and sanctions have torn apart economies that once had potential. Lebanon was called the Paris of the Middle East in the 1970s, but now it struggles with hyperinflation. Iraq had strong infrastructure before decades of war, and Syria's civil war destroyed entire cities. Palestinian territories are trapped in political division and blockade, making long-term investment nearly impossible. So that doesn't mean the region lacks talent. Far from it, actually. It means that the system also has to use that talent so it can prosper under the right circumstances. Without legal security, functioning banking systems, or reliable governments, innovation simply can't flourish. Meanwhile, Israel, tiny and threatened, kept improving those exact systems. So to answer the question in the title, why is Israel so rich, modern, and powerful, while much of the region remains poor and unstable? It's because it turned its disadvantages into advantages. It's a country that spent its entire history expecting crisis and built an economy that could still function within it. You can definitely dislike its politics or question its policies or criticize its wars, but economically it's an incredible case study in how long-term strategy beats short-term comfort. It invested in education, built strong institutions, chose powerful allies, and kept improving even when surrounded by enemies. And that's a lesson far beyond the Middle East.